Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live show where I just checked Twitter to see if any news had come in since I made my notes, and apparently Florian Wirtz is set to choose Liverpool over Bayern Munich. So it's not been a good week. Wirtz to Liverpool, Bruno could leave Manchester United, Liverpool going to get better, we're barely staying up, 16th. It's not a good week. But anyway, we're here to talk about the Manchester United news. Let's just hope that Wirtz does a Casado and Enzo Fernandes and rejects Liverpool. But what is the Manchester United news? Well, essentially, Garnacho is gone. Bye-bye, Garnacho. I think Garnacho is gone. Pretty much, I think Amorim just would have seen what he said and be furious. He's not had a really good relationship with Amorim since January. He's not really had a good relationship with the club since January. So yeah, Garnacho is probably essentially gone. Bruno apparently is ready to accept Saudi offer. He's told Saudi his demands. He's waiting for them to put a new offer in, and Bruno's ready to go to Saudi Arabia. And the same journalist that I said that Bruno was ready to go to Saudi Arabia broke the Wirtz to Liverpool story before Ornstein. So the journalist that just put out information saying that, Wirtz is going to choose Liverpool over Bayern. 20 minutes later, David Ornstein then put out that Wirtz is going to choose Liverpool over Bayern. The same journalist is now saying that, Bruno Fernandes is ready to go to Saudi. He's waiting for a new offer from Saudi. So, yeah, that's not good, is it? That's not good, is it? Juventus are more than willing to pay like £40 million to Hojlund because he's got low wages. I think 43 to £46 million. So I'm not going to complain at that. But I think like Hojlund definitely has potential to be a £40-50 million player. It's just I don't think we can give him another season. We've got more updates on the lap and the transfer plans, Amorim's dream midfielder, and all of that as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping this Florian Wirtz news is just Liverpool being used as a smokescreen for Bayern, but I'm worried that Liverpool are going to go for Florian Wirtz. I am a little bit worried. But let's dive into the news. Let's dive into the stories. We'll start with Garnacho, but then we're going to talk about Bruno, and then we'll talk about Hojlund. So this is what has been said in regards to Alejandro Garnacho. United and Garnacho's representatives expected to meet in the coming days. Club is open to facilitating a move if a realistic offer comes in. Interest expected from other Premier League clubs and Saudi Arabia. Garnacho was unhappy with his role under Amorim, particularly his limited minutes in key games like the UEL final, and this was said by Rob Dawson. So he's basically saying that United and Garnacho's reps are expected to meet in the coming days. The club is open to facilitating a move if a realistic offer comes in. There's interest from the PL and Saudi Arabia. I believe Napoli do still have an interest as well, but that's not been said by Rob Dawson. And the Garnacho is sort of unhappy with his role. We also said in my show yesterday that Garnacho and the club's relationship hasn't been good since January when they tried to offload him. One source, and I can't remember who it was, spoke about how, Garnacho and Rashford were dropped before that Man City game, and Garnacho hasn't had the best relationship with Amorim since, despite starting a lot of games recently. Obviously, the club were open to selling him in January. That kind of information's come out on Garnacho. The United stand basically said that Garnacho will leave. Fabrizio Romano said it's very likely Garnacho's going to go. He's up for sale. The clubs are looking for offers for him. There's interest there. I mean, I think the price tag for Garnacho is £60 million. I think that's a good fee. When you're talking about Jeremy Gittins being 100 million plus and Tyler Diblin being 100 million, then I mean, Garnacho's 100 million then. But let's be honest, I think 60 million is a very good fee for Garnacho. I think we underrate our players. I think if Garnacho was at another club, everyone would be happy to pay 60-70 million for him. Because he's at Man United and Man United are shite and there's toxicity around it, everybody thinks he's a 40 million player. Garnacho's a 60 million pound player. If you get 60 million for Garnacho, you sell him. If you don't, you keep him. That's my mind on it. I'd want 70 million for Garnacho. I think Garnacho's worth 70 million, but I think because of the fallout and the fact that we're 16th, I think he'll be 16 million. But I think, and people won't like me for saying this, we are more dangerous with Garnacho on the pitch. I understand Garnacho not starting, but Garnacho should have come at half time. Whether you like Garnacho or not, if we get rid of Garnacho and Rashford in one window, we have nobody with any pace and nobody that's direct. I like Emma, but he's not as direct as Garnacho. He's not as just quick. And as much as Garnacho frustrates me, and there's nobody in this team that frustrates more than Garnacho. There's probably nobody that gets on my nerves more than Garnacho because he can be selfish and his decision-making is selfish. But when he gets the ball, he makes things happen. He might miss sitters, but he makes things happen. He gets in dangerous areas. I am fed up of watching backwards, sideways, no purpose. At least Garnacho gets the ball, gets some drives, has a bit of fight, has a bit of hunger, wants to make things happen. I think Garnacho, and people won't agree with me for this because of what he said, and he shouldn't have said that about Amorim, but I think Garnacho cares about this club more than a lot of players, and I think that's why Garnacho reacted the way he did. And people won't agree with me, and that's fine. It's an unpopular opinion of mine. But I'm not the biggest fan of selling Garnacho. He's going to have to go because of the situation with Amorim, but I just find that we're more dangerous when he's on the pitch. Do I want him to be a week in, week out starter? No. I like him as a bench player, impact off the bench. He clearly doesn't like that. But I like Garnacho. I think we're more dangerous with him on the pitch. And I think we lack explosivity if you get rid of Garnacho and Rashford in one window. I understand doing it because it can give us a couple £100 million to spend because of PSR. But I'm just saying, let's not undervalue them. Let's not sell Garnacho for 40 million because we want to get rid of him. Making sure you're getting 60, 70 million if you're going to sell Garnacho. Let's not undervalue our players. That's all I think as well. I reckon it's going to be 55. I think it's going to be 55 million, add-ons taking it to 60. Yeah, that's what I think. But there's a lot of players that people say replace Garnacho with Nico Williams. I don't think Nico Williams is better than Garnacho. I think he's overrated. Jeremy Gittins, yeah, but is Jeremy Gittins worth twice the price of Garnacho? I think he's, there's questions there as well. Cunha replaces Garnacho, but Cunha it's still a bit different to Garnacho. Cunha is a better fit for our system than Garnacho, and that's why Cunha comes in, and that's why it's a good deal. But he doesn't stretch the width or have that pace of Garnacho. That's the one thing. And people will not agree with me. Someone said doesn't agree, always still wants to go to Madrid. I think Madrid's always been his dream, but I do think he cares about Man United. The fact that he wanted to get on that pitch so bad and make an effort so bad, I think he wanted to win that game. I'm going to be honest. There was about 5 players on the pitch that I felt wanted to win that game. Joshua Zirkzee wanted to win that game. Lenny Yoro wanted to win that game. Patrick Dorgu wanted to win that game. Garnacho wanted to win that game. And Ahmad didn't have his best game. He wanted to win that game. They were the only 5 players that I felt wanted to win the game. Garnacho, he's selfish. He cares about himself. But I do think he cares about United. I think he's a selfish person that cares about himself the most. But I think maybe it's an unpopular opinion. And most people disagree with me. And I get that. But I think he cares. I don't think he'd have that level of anger if he didn't care. I think when Garnacho came on, he wanted to win that game a lot more than Mason Mount. He wanted to win that game a lot more than most of the players on the pitch. I tell you who wanted to win that game, Joshua Zirkzee. I tell you Joshua Zirkzee, Lenny Yoro, and Garnacho were the most heartbroken of all time. I will say that. That's all I'm going to say. But anyway, let's talk about Bruno. Let's talk about a few other bits and bobs going about. But I want to actually... what was I going to do? I wanted to talk about the Wirtz story because this links to the Bruno story through the same journalist. But the only good thing about Wirtz going to Liverpool is at least they'll spend half the transfer budget on him. Yeah, but then Liverpool didn't really spend anything last summer. And if Saudi go and give Liverpool 60 million for Nunes, they can go and get a good striker in. But Wirtz, Kirkus, Frimpong's good for Liverpool, but they need a Nunes replacement, and I think they're going to need another centre back because Konate gets injured. And then you could argue a bit of depth for Gravenberch because he doesn't play anymore. Apparently, Florian Wirtz to Liverpool is moving fast after reaching a full agreement with the player. This all makes me feel sick. Liverpool are confident they're going to get a deal done for Florian Wirtz in the next 24 hours, said Romano. So all I'm going to say is I'm going to show you Twitter. And you'll be saying, Alice, why the hell are you talking about Liverpool news? Why am I talking about Liverpool news? Because this journalist, who we're going to talk about in a second, he said this 45 minutes ago. And he was the first person to say this journalist here. And he's the one that's talking about Bruno Fernandes. He said exclusive, Florian Wirtz is one step away from joining Liverpool Football Club, which literally makes me feel ill. He said, while the German midfielder had previously informed Manchester City that he chose Bayern Munich, he and his entourage just confirmed to FC Bayern and board members that he will be joining Liverpool. Wirtz personally informed the Bavarian management of his decision. Liverpool will now finalise the agreement with Bayer Leverkusen for around 150 million euros. The only good thing about that is that I think he's a £100 million player, not a £120 million player. He probably is a £120 million player, to be honest. He really is. But I think, would you want to spend more than 100 million players in this market? So that was said by this guy 45 minutes ago. And people were calling him a liar. People were calling that Thatcher guy a liar. But now it's been confirmed by Romano, and then David Ornstein confirmed it 10 minutes later. So this is the reason I'm getting the Wirtz news up is one, because it's pretty big news, but two, it's because this is the same guy that said this about Bruno Fernandes today. So he's got some credibility there, and this is what this guy has said about Bruno Fernandes today. Bruno's awaiting basically an improved offer. He said Bruno's representatives had told Al Hilal he is waiting on an improved offer. He is open to joining before the Club World Cup, and sources say the gap between the current offer and his expectations is small, and negotiations could progress quickly if Al Hilal raised their bid. Bruno Fernandes is 31. Manchester United aren't in Europe next season. I think Bruno could go to Saudi. I said I think that Europa League game could change it for Bruno. And look, I don't know if I trust this club to replace Bruno well. I don't think, we've been linked to Edison. It worries me. Big up to Mina in the chat as well. Go check out her channel. Wirtz is a good Trent replacement. It is, weirdly, because Trent and his passing and his creativity, Frimpong's good going forward, but I think Wirtz brings that creativity. Wirtz to Liverpool, it makes me feel ill. It does make me feel ill. And then we've got this Bruno news. And by the way, I'm going to show you the Bruno news that came out of Saudi. Again, I don't know how reliable Saudi sources are, but there was a Saudi source that came out yesterday. I'm going to see if I can find it and get it on my screen for you guys so you can see it. But there was a Saudi source that came out yesterday that basically said Bruno Fernandes will say yes to Saudi Arabia. So that worries me. I mean, look, £150 million for Bruno, like we could do with the money. And it's not the end of the world because we could do with the money. It's just, I don't know how much I trust this club to go and replace Bruno. Where is the story? Found it. Here it is. I've translated it for you. So this was said here. Negotiations are ongoing with Osimhen, Bruno and Inzaghi. No final agreement's been reached, but everyone's very open. So Saudi sources, and apparently it was a good Saudi source, but again, I don't know which Saudi sources are good or not, said that Bruno is open to the move yesterday. We've now got the first guy to talk about Florian Wirtz to Liverpool. So he has some creativity. He's not always correct, I will say that, but he has some credibility in the banks, particularly today, saying that Bruno's representatives have told Al Hilal he's waiting for an improved offer. Like, that is scary. That is scary. Like, who replaces Bruno? For me, you need two players to replace Bruno. We need a midfielder that is good, that is progressive on the ball, and we need a 10. Like, I guess the way you could replace Bruno would be through two signings. Now, like for like, I'd say Cole Palmer, and that isn't very like for like because Cole Palmer hasn't got the leadership qualities of Bruno yet. Cole Palmer can't play as deep as Bruno, but I do think Cole Palmer, as a right 10 in Amorim's system, would be better. I think Cole Palmer is better suited to Man United than Marescable. 100%. And I know he's had a bit of point in the season, but if we're talking about replacing Bruno, I'd probably say for me, maybe Belieber. Now, Belieber's a bit rash. So is Bruno, Belieber and Cunha. I'd say a bit of Belieber and a bit of Cunha is probably how you replace Bruno. Musiala would be amazing, but he just laughed at us. Imagine Man United went for Musiala, they just start laughing at us. So it'll be difficult. There's no guarantee we get all the Bruno money and spend it well. When Man United got big money for Ronaldo, we didn't spend it well. When Tottenham got big money for Bale, they didn't spend it well. If we get big money for someone, I don't know if we'll spend it well. Sometimes a lot of players go for big fees and a lot of clubs don't spend that well. That's the thing. Cole Palmer's not going to United. I don't think Cole Palmer would go to United, but he's not at the best end of the season at Chelsea. But we'd have to pay. We can't afford Cole Palmer. Cunha, Cherky, Mastantuna for the price of Bruno. Don't want to sell, but I wouldn't get all three. They're too similar. But I think Cunha and Believer is probably how you. If I was going to be honest, I'd love Caicedo. Just talks about Cole Palmer. If there's any Chelsea fans watching, they hate me. I'd love Caicedo, but again, they're not going to go from Chelsea to Man United. And Mbeumo has 12 months left on his contract. Yeah, so I mean, we should push for Mbeumo with 12 months on his contract. Alice needs to study Amorim's teams more. He doesn't have progressive midfielders. He has workhorses. The progression is from the centre backs, not midfielders. I get to an extent, but we don't. Why aren't we looking at progressive centre backs? Ederson will only work if we get proper progressive centre backs in. Aiden Heaven could be that guy. Lenny Euro is somewhat able, but I think Lenny Euro will be the central centre-back in the future. But I think because De Ligt and Maguire are best suited to central centre-back, Lenny Euro will be a wide centre-back. I think he'll turn into a central centre-back, Lenny Euro. But I don't know. Nunez was quite progressive. Under I know it's not the most progressive, but I think in the Premier League with our build-up issues, we need a progressive midfielder. I do. Alice, any chance Gyökeres will come? I think he's going to Arsenal. But a lot of people thought Wirtz was going to Bayern, and it looks like he's going to Liverpool. So you never know. But anyway, let's continue on. So the guy that is put this story out about Wirtz going to Liverpool, which is now proven true, which is just disgusting, is saying that Bruno's ready to accept a new offer from Saudi, and Saudi preparing a new offer, and they're not far apart in their demands. So yeah, that worries me. That worries me big time. Liverpool have already approved a record-breaking transfer worth 130 million for Florian Wirtz. That makes me feel. No, I'm just mad. I'm sorry. This Liverpool Wirtz news has just made me mad. It's put me in a mood. I can't lie. I fear United will miss out on many players. We will. I think we could miss out on players. Eze's one. I wasn't keen on Eze at the beginning of the season because he had a poor first few months of the season. The only thing that put me off Eze is second half of the season he's been insane, but Palace have been good. When Palace was struggling, he didn't show up. And at Man United, I need a player that's going to show up when the team's struggling. And when Palace struggle, he didn't show up first half of the season, but second half of the season he's been immense. That's my only fear with Eze. Wait, we signed Wirtz. Well, Liverpool apparently about to sign Wirtz. He's chosen Liverpool, so looks like it. Yeah, and we're going to talk about this story actually. I think that is on my slides. I'm going to talk about the Hojlund news, but I'm going to talk about recruitment in a second. So let's talk about the Hojlund news because this one was an interesting story coming out on Hojlund actually. So it was said here, Manchester United are willing to sell Rasmus Hojlund for 50 to 55 million euros. Juventus interested, viewing as a sensible target due to low wage demands. United's valuation is not expected to be a stumbling block. Juventus will step up their pursuit if they qualify for the Europa League. So what they're saying is United are willing to sell Hojlund, but they want 50 to 55 million euros, which is 43 to 46 million pounds, I believe. Juventus are interested, and they view him as a sensible target due to low wage demands. And United's valuation is expected not to be a stumbling block. But Juventus need Champions League football. So what is essentially being reported is, because Hojlund's on low wages, if Juventus qualify for the Champions League, they're happy to probably pay around 43 million for Hojlund. They're happy to do that. And you know what? I get why Juventus are happy to do that. I get why Juventus are happy to do that, because Hojlund has a lot of potential. You look at the players, Anthony, that have left Man United and what they've done. Rashford left. So I think Juventus will say, look, we saw him in Serie A. He's only 22 years of age. We get him out of United. There's a good player there. He was top scorer for Denmark in European qualifiers. When, like Hojlund, it was seen as one of the strikers with the highest ceilings in Europe. Arsenal looked at Rasmus Hojlund, and he's gone to Manchester United. He's fallen off a cliff. I think had Hojlund gone to a different club and been their second choice striker, and it was a top club with good players around him, I think we'd be talking about Rasmus Hojlund right now as a player we'd want. I really do. And that might sound crazy because he's been so crap for us and we need to sell him. So I can understand to an extent why maybe Juventus would be willing to spend that kind of money on Hojlund. I think they would want part of it to be add-ons. I think it would be like 30 million base fee. But I could see Juventus somewhat. Now, I do question if we're going to get 40 million for Hojlund. That's what we need with PSR. We have to get 40 million. I wouldn't be shocked if it was a loan with an option to buy or an obligation to buy. Just because next year, summer 2026, I think the book value on Hojlund goes to about, I think it will be about 30 million pounds on Hojlund. So maybe we do we sell him with a 40 million option to buy, so then we can make plus 10 million profit on him next year. I wouldn't be shocked if we did that. But apparently Juventus do not see United's 43 million valuation for Hojlund a stumbling block. So there's suggestions that they could pay that. You know, I think a loan could be the best option. If you can't get over 40 million for Hojlund this summer, it's a loan. And people are saying sell him for 30 million. If we sell Hojlund for 30 million, we will make an 8 million loss in PSR. So we can't. because that means we have less money to spend. And I know that might not make sense, but it's about the book values and stuff. So I would. But yeah, but apparently they don't see 43 million as a stumbling block. That says that they probably want to get it down to maybe 35 million, pay it in add-ons as well. Some people say Juventus aren't that dumb. Look, I get it. Juventus are dumb. Trust me, Juventus are dumb in the transfer window. I actually do get it. I actually do get it why many Italian clubs are interested. You've got to remember Napoli have interest, Inter have interest. There's many Italian clubs out there with a fair bit of interest in Rasmus Hojlund because he was good in Italy. He was highly rated in Italy, but nobody was going to pay 72 million for him in Italy, but Man United would because Murder Madness. You know what I mean? Dorgu, Cunha, Mateta, and Buemo, Ahmad, Maino, Agate, Aiden, Euro, Maz, Savic. I mean, that's not a bad squad. It's not a bad squad. I think we maybe just the centre mids is the question there. I think Aiden's great. It's just about his future. I said actually earlier today that Man United should go for Aït-Nouri. I said Mazraoui's a centre back in this system, and I think we need another wing back because Dorgu can play right wing back. I think we should go for Aït-Nouri. I do. Why are people talking about Vardy? I don't want Jamie Vardy. I don't know why people are saying, keep going on about Vardy in the chat. I don't want Jamie Vardy. Come on. He's not Ronaldo. Anyway, let's go into some more news. So, Kieran McKenna has confirmed that Ipswich did allow Delap to talk with Manchester United. The Athletic had confirmed that. So lots of talk about, Delap. Lots of talk about Delap. But again, apparently he wants European football, so he could go to Chelsea, which I don't think is the end of the world. I think Delap for 30 million is a very good deal. But if the plan is Delap and we're not going to bother signing another striker, then I'm not that bothered. There's better strikers and more ready strikers out there than Delap. There is talk of Arsenal now in concrete talks with Benjamin Sesko, though. You are right. There is a lot of talk about Arsenal and Sesko. So it could be one to watch. Maybe Gyökeres is out and available. Who knows? Some sources say that Arsenal prefer Gyökeres. Some sources say Arsenal prefer Sesko. There's not much known on it. But one thing we do know is that Ruben Amorim wants a bit of physicality in his midfield. So this is what's come out. Ruben Amorim has told United scouts that he wants more energy and mobility in midfield. He's concerned that the current midfield lacks speed, power, and athleticism to compete in the Premier League. Facts. He entered the Europa League final worried about his side's ability to physically match Spurs. If he did, then why didn't he just start Agate? Like, if you were worried about the physicality, drop your favourite little boy, Mason Mount, play Bruno higher up and play Agate. If that is what you're... This summer, Amorim wants signings that bring pace, strength, and dynamism to the midfield. So I just said that. That's who you're describing. That is the guy that you were describing. Physically able in the Premier League. Also, as Rich Fay said here, Manchester United want to sign players with Premier League experience. Wharton is not as physical as Belieber. What does Belieber have? Speed. What does Belieber have? Power. What does Belieber have? Athleticism. What does Belieber have? Energy and mobility. What does Belieber have? The ability to physically match Spurs. Spurs do not do well against Brighton, and they're going to be playing again on the weekend. Pace, strength, dynamism. What does Belieber have? All of that. What else does Belieber have? Premier League experience. What does Belieber have that we can't do? A big fat price tag. That is the problem. But that is the player you are describing. He has a price tag we probably can't afford. But that is the player you are describing. Someone said, Wirtz, here we go. Has there actually been a here we go for Wirtz? Don't tell me there's been a here we go for Wirtz. Don't tell me. I mean, I think we're going to get a here we go soon. Oh, this is... Oh, I can't believe Wirtz is going to Liverpool. I really can't believe Wirtz is going to go to Liverpool. Was there a here? I thought Fabrizio just said the deal was on. Has he actually said here we go? And they've got that absolute Georgian giant coming in the goal, Marmadashvili. Oh, he said to get deal done. He hasn't said here we go yet, has he? Man City has started talks with Reinders and Wirtz and Liverpool confident to get Wirtz deal done. So he's not said here we go yet. Anyway, let's continue on into the next story. But that has me worried. I think Belieber would be a good option. Stop thinking about players from the EPL. We can't afford them. After Cunha, let's be real. I just want us to sign a load of players from the Premier League and Ligue 1. Because La Liga isn't that physical, the Serie A isn't as physical, and the Bundesliga isn't as physical as the Premier League and Ligue 1. And while Ligue 1 isn't the best league in the world, it's got physicality. So I want Premier League and Ligue 1 players. Euro's a Ligue 1 player. I like Xerxes. You saw a bit of Xerxes hate today. I think Xerxes is going to have a good future at this club, and I think he cares. I think Xerxes cares about this club more than a lot of other people at this club. Gravenberch wasn't Prem proven. I said we should get Gravenberch. I'm not saying we have to get Prem proven players. I said we should get Gravenberch, and I was annoyed that we didn't go for him. But I think with just the level we're at, we need at least 3. I think we need 6 signings, and 3 of them should be Prem proven, and that for me would be Belieber, Mbuemo, and Cunha. I think the other ones could be Gyökeres. That's not Prem proven. I think another one could be Joan Garcia. That's not Prem proven, but I would. That's what I'd do. Alice, McAllister, Soberstein, Gravenberch, Endo, Jones, Wirtz. What do you make of that midfield? Makes me feel ill. Oh, more Bruno news. Al Hilal set Bruno deadline. Saudis hopeful United will captain leave Old Trafford. 100 to 200 million. 100 to United, 200 million to Bruno. United don't want to sell, but under pressure after loss. So I would probably say 150 million. Xerxes a baller. If I'm United, I say we lost 150 million for not being in the Europa League. That's the price of Bruno. Xerxes. I think Xerxes is a baller. People might laugh at me for saying that. I think Xerxes is going to have a good year next year. I like him. I mean, 200 million to Bruno. 200 million to Bruno. No way he's 100 million. You might not think he's 100 million, but he's 100 million to Manchester United. Where would Manchester United be without Bruno Fernandes? In the Championship. Do you know how much money Manchester United would have lost if they got relegated? A lot. Bruno Fernandes is worth 150 million pounds to Manchester United. It's like Adam Wharton. Adam Wharton isn't worth 100 million pounds, but he's worth 100 million pounds to Crystal Palace. That's what you've got to think of. He's worth 150 million to Manchester United. That's what he's worth to Manchester United. He's probably a 100 million pound player because you've got to look at his wages. Probably not his wages, his age. He's probably an 80 million pound player. To Chelsea, to Arsenal, he's an 80 million pound player because of his age. But to Manchester United, he will be worth 100 million to Manchester United, and only Saudi can pay that. That's the thing. Isak is obviously worth more than Bruno, but no Premier League club is going to pay more than 80 million for Bruno. Premier League clubs would pay 130 million for Isak, 100%. But it's about what the player's worth to Man United. That's why, there's 2 types of valuations. What is he worth to your club? So, Isak is, of course, worth more because of age and because he's a striker, and that's the most sought position. But Bruno Fernandes to Manchester United, because of how crap we are, will be worth so much. If, Newcastle were good, they got lots of good attackers. If they lose Isak, it's a big loss, but they will find another good striker. Bruno Fernandes is single-handedly holding Manchester United together, and I don't think there's a player that's held a team together as much as Bruno has this season, because we would be relegated without Bruno Fernandes. He was crap in the final. He was crap in the final on Wednesday, but we only got to the final because of Bruno Fernandes. We only won the FA Cup because of Bruno Fernandes. We only beat Southampton because of Amat. We only beat Leicester because of Bruno. We beat 4 teams in the Premier League in 2025, and that was Fulham, Leicester, Ipswich, and Southampton. 4. Isn't that crazy? And Bruno played a big part in all of those wins. We are that bad. So that's why, if United sold Bruno Fernandes for 80 million, considering his importance to us, that is not good business for Manchester United. It's not good business. Where's Garnacho going to go? Napoli, Chelsea, I think. Napoli or Chelsea. That's what I think. You cannot replace Bruno, or you are just salty. Look, I don't think people realize what Bruno brings to Man United. It's not just what he brings on the pitch. It's what he brings off the pitch. Like what Bruno Fernandes brings to Manchester United off the pitch, and people don't see it. But I know people behind the scenes. I know people that have gone to Man United and they say, I know the work that Bruno does that no other players does at Man United. You know, he doesn't get enough. Bruno Fernandes is one of those where in 10 years' time people talk about Bruno and what he did, and he'll get the appreciation he deserves 10 years' time. You know. Anyway, let's continue on into some final stories. That was the final story. Man United want to sign players with Premier League experience. So what we know today is that Liverpool are probably going to sign Florian Wirtz. Bruno Fernandes could be about to go to Saudi, because the same journalist that broke the Florian Wirtz to Liverpool news, that's now been confirmed by Ornstein and Romano, has broke the Bruno's open to Saudi move. So yeah. It's a big news day. But listen, people, thank you for watching today's video. I will see you guys next time. Bye.